Welcome back to ABC General Hospital Spoilers channel. Today we will learn about the issue of Jack Brennan's potentially sinister Christmas gift to Carly and whether Port Charles' most dangerous spy has just initiated surveillance games that could blow up in spectacular fashion. The suspicious Christmas present. During the December 18th episode of General Hospital, viewers witnessed what appeared to be a tender romantic moment when Jack Brennan arrived at Carly's residence bearing what he described as an early Christmas present. The gift in question was an absolutely stunning necklace, the kind of elegant jewelry that would make any woman's heart skip a beat under normal circumstances. Brennan didn't just hand over the necklace in a box. He took the animate step of personally placing it around Carlyle's neck, fastening the clasp himself in a gesture that seemed both romantic and possessive. The physical closeness of the moment, combined with Brennan's intense gaze, created an atmosphere that was simultaneously intimate and unsettling. Carly, ever the skilled performer, when circumstances demanded, played her part flawlessly. She accepted the generous gift with what appeared to be genuine appreciation and affection, continuing to maintain the facade of being a devoted and loving girlfriend. Her smile was convincing, her body language appropriately warm, and her words of gratitude sounded sincere to anyone who wasn't looking too closely. However, beneath this carefully constructed exterior, Carly was undoubtedly processing the implications of this unexpected visit and gift. Her mind racing with questions about Brennan's true intentions and whether this beautiful necklace might represent something far more dangerous than a simple token of affection. Brennan's interrogation tactics. What made this scene particularly intriguing wasn't just the gift itself, but the subtle interrogation that accompanied it. Brennan didn't simply drop off the necklace and leave. He lingered, asking probing questions that revealed he's been monitoring Carly's movements and habits far more closely than a typical boyfriend might. He specifically pointed out that he'd noticed her absence from the Metro Court, questioning why she'd been spending an unusual amount of time at home rather than attending to her business empire. This observation demonstrated that Brennan is paying meticulous attention to even the smallest changes in Carly's daily routine and behavioral patterns. The way Brennan framed these questions was particularly calculated. He didn't come across as accusatory or confrontational. Instead, he maintained the pretense of being a concerned partner who simply wanted to check in on his girlfriend's well-being. This approach is classic spy tradecraft, creating an environment where the subject feels comfortable enough to potentially reveal information while simultaneously being put on notice that they're being watched. Brennan's training at the World Security Bureau has clearly equipped him with sophisticated interrogation techniques that he's now deploying in his personal relationships, blurring the lines between his professional and romantic lives in ways that could prove catastrophic for everyone involved. The pattern of suspicion. This incident on December 18th wasn't an isolated occurrence. It's actually part of an escalating pattern of suspicious behavior from Brennan. Over recent weeks and months, there have been multiple occasions where he's questioned Carly about her mood, her activities, and her emotional state. Each time, he's displayed a level of scrutiny that goes beyond normal relationship concern and ventures into surveillance territory. Brennan has demonstrated an almost preternatural awareness of subtle shifts in Carly's demeanor, picking up on tiny cues that most people would miss entirely. Carly has done her absolute best to cover her tracks and maintain her deception, offering plausible explanations for any unusual behavior and deflecting Brennan's inquiries with the skill of someone who's had decades of practice navigating dangerous situations. She's invented excuses, redirected conversations, and employed every trick in her considerable arsenal to keep Brennan from discovering the truth. However, despite her formidable abilities as a manipulator and survivor, Carly has to be aware that she's dealing with a professional intelligence operative whose entire career has been built on detecting deception and uncovering secrets. The Jason Morgan variable. The elephant in the room, of course, is Jason Morgan, Carly's best friend, confidant, and the one person in Port Charles who knows virtually all of her secrets. Brennan would have to be incredibly naive not to consider the very real possibility that Jason has informed Carly about Jocelyn Jack's recruitment into the WSB. Jason's loyalty to Carly is legendary, and the idea that he would keep such explosive information from her strains credibility to the breaking point. Brennan knows this, which means he has to be operating under the assumption that Carly is aware of Jocelyn's secret status as a WSB operative. This creates an incredibly complex and dangerous situation. If Brennan believes Carly knows about Jocelyn's WSB involvement, then he also has to wonder what else she knows and what actions she might be planning. A trained intelligence professional like Brennan understands that information is currency. And once someone possesses sensitive knowledge, they become unpredictable. The question isn't whether Jason told Carly. Brennan almost certainly assumes that conversation has already happened. The real question is what Carly is planning to do with that information and whether she's actively working against Brennan's interests while pretending to be his romantic partner. Analyzing Carly's recent behavior, Jack Brennan is undoubtedly conducting a mental inventory of Carrie's recent behavioral changes, looking for patterns and anomalies that might indicate deception. He's likely noticed that her reactions to certain topics have been slightly off, that she's been more guarded in her responses, and that there's been a subtle but detectable shift in the dynamic of their relationship. These are the kinds of minute details that a trained spy is specifically educated to recognize and interpret. Beyond the immediate concern about Jocelyn, Brennan might be starting to question whether there's something even bigger that Carly is hiding from him. While the Vaughn drama provided a convenient explanation for some of Carrie's stress and distraction, that situation has largely resolved itself. Yet, Carly hasn't entirely returned to her previous baseline behavior. This discrepancy would be a red flag for someone with Brennan's training and experience. He's likely running through various scenarios in his mind, considering what other secrets Carly might be keeping and what threats those secrets might pose to his operations and objectives. The intelligence of attraction. One of the factors that makes this situation particularly complex is that Brennan's attraction to Carly was at least in part based on her intelligence and competence. He wasn't drawn to a passive or naive woman. He specifically pursued someone who could match him intellectually and who had proven herself to be a formidable operator in Port Charles. COMPLICATED power dynamics. This creates an ironic situation where the very qualities that attracted Brennan to Carly are now the ones that make her dangerous to him. Brennan has to be grappling with the possibility that Carly is playing him just as effectively as he might be playing her. A woman smart enough to build and maintain a business empire, navigate the treacherous waters of mob politics, and survive countless threats to herself and her family is certainly capable of conducting a sophisticated deception against a romantic partner. The question is whether Brennan's feelings for Carly have compromised his professional judgment or whether those feelings were never genuine in the first place and this entire relationship has been a calculated intelligence operation from both sides. The WSB training factor. At his core, Brennan is a creature of the World Security Bureau, an organization that has trained him to be paranoid, suspicious, and constantly vigilant. His default setting is to trust no one completely and to always consider the possibility of betrayal and deception. This training doesn't simply disappear when he's off duty or in a romantic relationship. If anything, the stakes of personal relationships might make him even more cautious because emotional vulnerabilities can be exploited by enemies and adversaries. The WSB doesn't just teach tactical skills and intelligence-gathering techniques. It fundamentally reshapes how operatives view the world and process information. Brennan has been conditioned to see potential threats everywhere, to analyze every interaction for hidden meanings, and to plan for worst-case scenarios. This mindset is both his greatest strength and his most significant liability in personal relationships. He literally cannot stop being a spy, even when he's trying to be a boyfriend. Which means his relationship with Carly is perpetually infected by the paranoia and strategic thinking that defines his professional life. The bug necklace theory. This brings us to the most intriguing possibility raised by recent events, the theory that the beautiful Christmas necklace Brennan gave Carly contains a sophisticated listening device. From a strategic perspective, this would be an absolutely brilliant move on Brennan's part. He can't directly confront Carly about his suspicions without revealing his hand and potentially destroying whatever genuine aspects of their relationship might exist. He needs information, but he needs to gather it covertly in a way that won't alert Carly to his surveillance. A bugged piece of jewelry is the perfect solution to this problem. It's a gift that Carly is likely to wear regularly, especially if she's maintaining the pretense of being a devoted girlfriend. It stays close to her at all times, picking up conversations in her home, at her business, and anywhere else she might go. The fact that Brennan personally placed the necklace around Carl's neck adds an extra layer of calculated manipulation. He ensured that the device was properly positioned and activated while simultaneously creating an intimate moment that would discourage Carly from examining the gift too closely or questioning his motives. Surveillance of Valentine Casadini. If the necklace is indeed bugged, then Brennan has inadvertently or deliberately positioned himself to overhear something absolutely explosive. Carly's conversations with Valentine Casadini, the fugitive she's currently harboring in her home. Valentine represents one of the most significant threats to Brennan's operations and reputation because he possesses detailed knowledge of Jack's questionable activities and unethical decisions during his time at the WSB. The conversation where Valentine laid out all of Brennan's shady actions in explicit detail would have been captured by a listening device in Carly's necklace. Even more damaging, Brennan would have heard Carl's response, her explicit agreement to help take him down and her commitment to being all in on destroying his career and possibly his freedom. This kind of intelligence would completely transform the dynamics of the Carly-Brennan relationship, shifting it from a complicated romantic entanglement into an all-out war where both parties are actively plotting the other's downfall while maintaining a facade of affection and trust. The mutual manipulation scenario. The most fascinating potential development in this storyline would be a shift toward mutual manipulation where both Carly and Brennan are fully aware that the other is playing games but continue the charade anyway because it serves their respective strategic interests. This would create a deliciously complex situation where every interaction between them is layered with multiple levels of deception, with both parties trying to outmaneuver the other while appearing to be loving partners. Carly could be feeding Brennan false information through conversations she knows he's monitoring, using the bugged necklace as a weapon against him rather than falling victim to it. Meanwhile, Brennan could be using the intelligence he gathers to stay one step ahead of Carrie's plots while pretending to be oblivious to her schemes. This cat-and-mouse game would elevate their relationship from a simple romance into a high-stakes intelligence operation where the personal and professional spheres are completely intertwined, and the consequences of losing could include prison time or worse. The revenge plot dynamics. Both Carly and Brennan have powerful motivations for revenge that extend beyond simple romantic betrayal. For Carly, Brennan's manipulation of Jocelyn into the WSB represents an unforgivable violation of her family, the kind of transgression that mothers don't forgive or forget. Her protective instincts toward her children have always been her most defining characteristic, and anyone who threatens or exploits her kids becomes her mortal enemy, regardless of whatever personal feelings might exist. For Brennan, if he's discovered that Carly is actively working with Valentine to expose his misconduct and destroy his career, then she's transformed from a romantic interest into an existential threat that must be neutralized. His entire professional life, his reputation within the intelligence community, and potentially his freedom are at stake. Under those circumstances, any genuine affection he might have felt for Carly would be overridden by the survival instincts of a cornered operative who will do whatever is necessary to protect himself from exposure and prosecution. The inevitable collision course. General Hospital spoilers make it abundantly clear that Carly is heading toward a major crisis, and the situation with Brennan seems like the most likely trigger for that impending disaster. The current state of affairs is unsustainable. Too many secrets, too much deception, and too many conflicting agendas packed into a single relationship. Something has to give, and when it does, the fallout is going to be spectacular and far-reaching. The beauty of this storyline is that there are multiple possible breaking points. Brennan could confront Carly with evidence gathered from the bug necklace. Carly could discover the surveillance device and realize the full extent of Brennan's manipulation. Valentine's presence in Carly's home could be exposed, forcing everyone's hand simultaneously. Jason could intervene in a way that accelerates the confrontation. Any of these scenarios, or a combination of them, could serve as the catalyst that transforms this Cold War into an open conflict with devastating consequences for everyone involved in port. Charles' increasingly complicated web of secrets and lies. Next, we will learn about the explosive developments heading our way during the week of December 22, 2025. And trust me when I say that Port Charles is about to experience some of the most dramatic and emotionally charged moments we've seen in quite some time. Christmas celebrations and heartfelt remembrances. As the holiday season descends upon Port Charles, viewers should mark their calendars accordingly because the beloved ABC soap opera will take a brief pause on Christmas Day itself. The network will be preempting the regularly scheduled episode to allow families across the nation to celebrate the festive occasion without missing a beat. However, don't let the scheduling adjustment dampen your spirits because the episodes leading up to this special day are absolutely packed with memorable moments that will tug at your heartstrings and keep you on the edge of your seat. One of the most touching storylines involves the spirit of generosity embodied by none other than Jason Morgan and his son Danny Morgan. These two will be spreading holiday cheer throughout Port Charles as they take on the heartwarming task of distributing gifts to those in need. This particular storyline showcases the softer, more compassionate side of Jason that fans have come to appreciate over the years. Watching father and son work together in this charitable endeavor reminds us all of what the season is truly about: giving back to the community and sharing joy with others. The scenes promise to be filled with genuine emotion and will likely feature interactions with various Port Charles residents who could use some holiday magic in their lives. Meanwhile, the Quartermaine mansion will be filled with bittersweet emotions as Tracy Quartermaine finds herself consumed by memories of the late great Monica Quartermaine. The matriarch's absence is felt more acutely during the holidays, and Tracy will experience a particularly poignant moment where the weight of her loss becomes almost overwhelming. This scene is expected to be one of the most emotionally resonant moments of the week. As Tracy reflects on the legacy Monica left behind and the profound impact she had on the Quartermaine family, the writers have done an exceptional job of ensuring that Monica's memory continues to live on within the fabric of the show even after her departure. Fans should prepare themselves for a deeply moving tribute that honors the character's decades-long contribution to General Hospital's rich history, Ava's revelations, and female friendships. Shifting gears to another compelling storyline, Ava Dome finds herself at the center of multiple dramatic revelations that will fundamentally alter her understanding of the current power dynamics in Port Charles. The week promises not one but two significant pieces of information that will come to light for this complex and often misunderstood character. Ava has always been a survivor, someone who adapts to changing circumstances with remarkable agility. And these new discoveries will test her ability to navigate treacherous waters once again. The first major development involves a long-overdue reconciliation between Ava and Nina Reeves. These two women have had their share of conflicts and misunderstandings over the years, but circumstances are bringing them back together in a moment of genuine connection. The makeup scene between them is expected to showcase the depth of their complicated friendship, reminding viewers that despite their past differences, there's a fundamental understanding between these two strong-willed women who have both faced their fair share of judgment and adversity in Port Charles. During their heartfelt conversation, Nina will confide in her friend about an absolutely jaw-dropping new arrangement she's entered into. One that has the potential to save Willow Tate Kane from a legal nightmare that threatens to tear her family apart. The details of this plan are nothing short of shocking. Nina has agreed to work alongside Jack Brennan, and their strategy involves targeting none other than Charlotte Casadini as a means to ultimately get to Valentine Casadini. This is a dangerous game that Nina is playing, one that could backfire spectacularly if not executed with perfect precision. What makes this situation even more intriguing is Nina's surprising moment of conscience and caution. Despite being the architect of this potentially explosive plan, she demonstrates genuine concern for Charlotte's well-being by explicitly warning the young girl not to trust anyone with sensitive information. Not even Nina herself. This warning speaks volumes about the moral complexity of the situation and Nina's awareness that she's walking a very fine line between protecting her daughter and potentially causing harm to an innocent teenager. It's a fascinating character moment that showcases Nina's evolution and her growing awareness of the consequences her actions can have on others. Later in the week, Ava will stumble upon another crucial piece of information, and this one centers specifically on Portia Robinson. The nature of this revelation remains somewhat mysterious, but given the interconnected web of relationships in Port Charles, it's bound to have significant ramifications. What's particularly refreshing about this storyline is how it highlights the growing importance of female friendships and alliances within the show's narrative framework. Gone are the days when women on soap operas were constantly pitted against each other solely over romantic rivals. Instead, we're seeing rich, complex relationships between female characters who support, challenge, and confide in one another. This evolution in storytelling is genuinely exciting and adds layers of depth to the overall narrative tapestry, the Windsor intrigue and Sidwell swear. Now, let's turn our attention to what might be the most suspenseful and potentially explosive storyline of the week. The events unfolding at the Gothic and mysterious Windermere estate, Jen Sidwell has orchestrated what promises to be an unforgettable swear. But beneath the veneer of elegant entertainment and sophisticated socializing, there's a dark secret being kept within those castle walls. Pascal, who serves as Sidwell's loyal and efficient butler, is harboring far more than just household responsibilities. Unbeknownst to most of Windermere's visitors, he's also serving as the keeper of a very important hostage, the formidable Anna Dean. This revelation adds an entirely new dimension to what could have been a straightforward party storyline. Instead, we have a pressure cooker situation where tension builds with each passing moment and the potential for everything to explode into chaos hangs in the air like a storm cloud ready to burst. Anna Dean is not your typical damsel in distress. However, this woman has an impressive resume that includes extensive experience with the World Security Bureau and a successful tenure as Port Charles Police Commissioner. Her skills in espionage, investigation, and strategic thinking are legendary. Even while being held captive, Anna is constantly working angles, analyzing her surroundings, and looking for opportunities to turn the tables on her captors. Her resourcefulness is one of her defining characteristics, and fans know better than to count her out, even in the most dire circumstances. The million-dollar question on everyone's minds is whether Anna will manage to orchestrate a daring escape and more specifically whether that escape attempt will coincide with Sidwell's elaborate party. Can you imagine the absolute pandemonium that would ensue if Anna suddenly came stumbling or bursting out into the middle of a room full of Port Charles elite? The dramatic potential of such a scenario is absolutely staggering. Picture the shock on the guests' faces. The chaos as people try to process what they're witnessing and the immediate shift in power dynamics as Anna's captivity becomes public knowledge. Such an event would undoubtedly become the most unforgettable party in Windsor's long and storied history. And that's saying something considering the estate's track record for dramatic gatherings. The fallout from such a revelation would ripple through Port Charles society, affecting multiple storylines and relationships. It would expose Sidwell's true nature to everyone present, potentially destroying whatever legitimate facade he's been maintaining, and it would give several other characters the leverage they desperately need to change their own circumstances. Kevin's gratitude and strategic implications. This brings us to Kevin Collins and his upcoming moment of profound thankfulness. While gratitude might seem like a simple emotion on the surface, in the context of these interconnected storylines, Kevin's thankfulness carries significant weight and implications for multiple characters and their futures. If Anna manages to escape during Sidwell's party, turning what should have been an elegant social gathering into a scandal of epic proportions, the ramifications extend far beyond just Anna's personal freedom. This dramatic revelation could provide exactly the leverage that both Laura Collins and Sunny Corinthos desperately need to extricate themselves from whatever compromising deal they've been forced into with Sidwell. Kevin, being Laura's devoted husband and a keen observer of Port Charles politics, would have every reason to be thankful for such a fortuitous turn of events. The timing couldn't be more critical. Both Laura and Sunny are formidable figures in Port Charles. But even they can find themselves backed into corners by dangerous individuals like Sidwell. An unexpected exposure of Sidwell's criminal activities, particularly something as serious as holding Anna Dean hostage, would fundamentally alter the balance of power. It would give Laura and Sunny the upper hand they've been seeking, allowing them to renegotiate terms or potentially escape their obligations entirely. Kevin's thankfulness, therefore, isn't just about personal relief. It represents a potential turning point in a much larger chess game being played by Port Charles power players. His gratitude symbolizes hope for a better outcome and the possibility of justice prevailing over manipulation and coercion. The trial of Willow Tate Kane. Finally, we must address what is perhaps the most legally complex and emotionally charged storyline currently unfolding. The trial of Willow Tate Kane. This case has become increasingly convoluted as time progresses, with each new revelation seeming to complicate matters rather than clarify them. What should have been a straightforward legal proceeding has morphed into a labyrinthine situation where alliances, secrets, and strategic maneuvering all play crucial roles in determining the outcome. Willow finds herself in an incredibly precarious position, facing charges that could have devastating consequences for her future and her family. The stakes couldn't be higher. We're talking about potential separation from her children, the destruction of her marriage to Michael Corinthos, and the complete upheaval of the life she's worked so hard to build. The courtroom scenes promise to be filled with tension, surprise witnesses, unexpected testimony, and dramatic revelations that could swing the case in either direction at a moment's notice. This is where Na's elaborate plan comes into play with maximum significance. The arrangement she's made with Jack Brennan, which involves using Charlotte Casadini as leverage against Valentine, is all ultimately designed to create a scenario that could save Willow from conviction. The moral complexity of this situation is staggering. Na is essentially using questionable means to achieve what she believes is a just end. She's walking a tightrope between being Willow's savior and potentially becoming the architect of a new disaster. The burning question that will keep viewers glued to their screens is whether Na's convoluted plan will actually work as intended or whether it will backfire spectacularly, potentially making things even worse for Willow. Legal proceedings are notoriously unpredictable, and the involvement of powerful figures like Brennan adds another layer of uncertainty to an already volatile situation. There's also the very real possibility that despite everyone's best efforts and most carefully laid plans, Willow could still end up being convicted, which would send shockwaves through multiple families and storylines. The trial represents a convergence point for numerous character arcs and relationships. The outcome will affect not just Willow, but Michael, Nina, Sunny, and countless others who are emotionally invested in this young woman's fate. As the week progresses and new developments emerge, fans will be watching with bated breath to see how this complex legal drama resolves itself and what consequences will follow for everyone involved.